Firefly Sports is a new company in the pickleball paddle market. Currently, they have two paddles in their lineup, the Generator L1 and the One S1 paddle. Both are edgeless and have the same curve at the top, but the Generator is elongated with a 5.25-inch handle, while the One also has that same handle length, but has the dimensions of a standard shaped paddle. The website doesn't list the thickness, but my guess is that it's maybe around 16 millimeters. Also on their website, Firefly lists 3 key pieces of technology that make their paddle unique. Let's start with what they call their kinetic core. Most paddles on the market right now use a honeycomb core of polypropylene. The kinetic core instead opts to use their own supercell core material, which they employ in a solid sheet versus a honeycomb pattern. In terms of how it plays, the most notable aspect was that it was louder and higher pitched. The sound reminded me of a Nomex core, but Firefly did tell me that there was no core in the material, but also declined to say what exactly the material was. I wouldn't classify these as power paddles. They're not powerful like the thermoform paddles and lean more towards control. The paddle is on the softer side with a solid touch, though it also didn't have as much dwell time as the 16mm honeycomb paddles I'm used to. I didn't really notice any benefits in performance of the different core. It's how I would describe the difference between the Gearbox SST core and a traditional polymer core. It feels different and you may like it or you may not. Their main goal for creating their own core was mainly to improve the durability of the paddle. Now, I can't really speak to the durability since I've only had the paddle for a few weeks, and I would really need to play with the paddle regularly for several months to speak on if their durability claims are true. They are correct on their website in listing how honeycomb cores do degrade over time, and if this core can indeed hold up, this would be a really nice technological advancement by them. Now onto what they call their Revolution paddle face. The Firefly paddles don't use a raw carbon fiber surface, but instead use a polymer that relies on molecular adhesion as opposed to friction caused by surface roughness. They say the purpose of doing this instead of a peel ply texture on a carbon fiber surface is because the textured surface always wears down eventually, but with their polymer surface, their claim is that the texture will not wear off and the spin quality will remain the same. Raw carbon fiber surfaces do indeed degrade over time, but they provide noticeably more spin than the polymer surface of the Firefly paddles. I struggled when I initially used the paddle because my balls were not dipping as well on topspin drops and drives compared to raw carbon fiber paddles. I had asked the owner about it, and he said that generating high RPMs wasn't a high priority, but similar to their goal with the core, they wanted to improve the durability of the spin. Though to be honest, the spin just wasn't great to begin with. I don't think the smooth surface of the paddle and its molecular adhesion works very well, so there really isn't much spin that can be degraded over time. The last technological piece is the apex sidewalls. Since the Firefly paddles do not have an edge guard, they use a high-density, extremely resilient polymer to protect the edges of the paddle. In addition, the sidewalls have a high weight to them to enhance the stability and sweet spot of the paddle. I did find that the paddle did have an above average sweet spot compared to other edgeless paddles out there, like the Selkirk Power Airs and the Gearbox CX14s and 11s. Since the paddle is edgeless and the swing weight is lower, I did add lead tape on the sides of the paddle to improve the sweet spot and power even more without having to sacrifice much of the speed. Now I have brought up Gearbox a few times, and that's because Firefly Sports and their goal for their paddle reminds me a lot of Gearbox, who also have the same goal to create durable paddles that don't need to be replaced regularly. I believe Gearbox was one of the first to innovate in the core material by implementing carbon fiber inside their SST core, and I do applaud Firefly for also experimenting with a different core material. Compared to the Gearbox CX14 and CX11s, they do have better power and sweet spot than both, and the paddle can be enjoyed without lead tape, but the Gearbox paddles do provide more spin. If the durability claims do hold true, I think Firefly paddles are a solid option for someone who is looking to buy just one paddle for the rest of their life, since Firefly does offer a lifetime warranty on their paddles. I'd say the paddle is for people who don't use a lot of spin in their game, but rely on touch and want a quick-to-swing edgeless paddle. The website lists all of the Firefly paddles at $200 right now, and that is a bit on the pricey end for pickleball paddles, but like I said, if the durability claims are true, this could be worth checking out if you do just want only one paddle that you don't have to replace.
Got it, baby! Let's go! Alright.